Well, good day, and welcome to Lesson 34 in our study of the book of Mark. We're finally going to finish chapter 8. We've been on this for some time, but this is really the pinnacle chapter of the whole book. And we've followed Jesus as he did many miracles around the Sea of Galilee, how he tried to teach his disciples, how they did not understand what was going on. When they saw the miracles that Christ had done, they did not really understand and follow him the way that they should. And he said this himself. Do you not see what's going on? Do you not understand what's going on? Do you not follow me in that respect? And then he asked them straight out, who do you say that I am? And Peter finally answered and said, you are the Christ. You are the anointed one. You are the Son of God. And yet when Jesus told him the plan that he had to suffer and die, then Peter tried to rebuke Christ because he said, I'm not going to let you do that, as if he himself had a better plan. So we've gone through this in the last few lessons, and Jesus finally convinced him that he was going to suffer and die at the feelings and the wishes of the Pharisees and of those in power. He rebuked Peter and said, you get behind me, because what I have to do this is of God. What you want is of man. So that he would be sent before someone to die eventually for what he had said. So then he called the people to himself. He called the ones to himself, including the disciples, and said to them, whoever desires to come after me, let him deny himself, take up his cross, and follow me. For whoever desires to save his life will lose it, but whoever loses his life for my sake and the gospel's will save it. For what will it profit a man if he gains the whole world and loses his own soul? Or what will a man give up in exchange for his soul? For whoever is ashamed of me and my words in this adulterous and sinful generation, of him the Son of Man will also be ashamed when he comes in the glory of his Father with the holy angels. This is the culmination, essentially, of this chapter and of this book. For Jesus said that he had proven himself to be who he said he was. He was going to suffer and die, and that those who want to follow him must essentially do the same. We have been told all along throughout the Bible that the world is basically sinful, that it's made up of the desires of the flesh versus the desires of God. And that mankind wants as a whole to follow the desires of the flesh, to get what he can in this world, to do what he can in this world, to accomplish what he can in this world. This is basically what the main thrust of the world is about, to get, and get. And you can see how this affects leadership in many of the countries, how wars are fought over getting more land, more power, more prestige, how people do things which are really not very sensible, selling tacky stuff in order to make more money. They get involved in investments and try to get other people involved in risky investments as well. And the idea is to get more money, get bigger things, get more things. There's a saying that he who dies with the most toys wins. Well, that's exactly the opposite of what Christ is saying. If you're going to follow him, you have to deny yourself of these things. You have to change the way you think and deny your worldly desires, your worldly ambitions, at least to a great degree. You have to deny yourself, and you're going to have to take up your cross, which means you're going to be likely persecuted at some stage, ridiculed perhaps at some stage, certainly disagreed with in some stage. There may be some difficulty with social interactions at some degree. But the idea is if you're going to follow Christ, then you have to accept that this may very likely happen. So he says very clearly that you have to deny yourself, deny your worldly ambitions and desires, take up your cross, be willing to bear with him and suffer with him if necessary, be persecuted because of him, and follow him. It says, follow me. And follow means exactly that. It means to follow him, not to try to lead him as Peter did earlier, but to follow him, accept what he's doing, accept the way God has it planned out. So, if you wish to follow Christ, whoever desires to come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. For whoever decides to save his life will lose it. In other words, if you decide to save what you have in this world, if you decide to go after everything that's available in this world, if this is what you want, you will lose eternal life. However, if you decide to deny what's in this world to a great degree, whoever loses his life, who loses what he normally would want and desire and to achieve in this world, that may result in him saving his life for eternity. What will it profit a man? What really is it profitable for a person to gain everything he wants, everything he thinks is nice in this world, and lose his soul as a result of it? If you look at the book of Ecclesiastes, Solomon had almost everything a man could want. He had tried almost everything a man could do. And in the end he said, it's all for naught. It's all vanity. It's all worthless in the long run. It's all essentially meaningless. And he said, it is man's main duty to follow, to love God, and to follow his commandments. And this is what Jesus is really saying here. If you want to save your life, you have to lose it to the material world we live in to a great extent, and then you'll gain more eternal life by following the edicts and the commandments of Christ and of God. What will it gain? What is it to profit of it to gain the whole world now for this temporal body that we live in, and yet lose eternity? What does it profit a man to gain the whole world and lose a soul? And what are you willing to give up in exchange for your soul? You see, people don't really believe this to a great extent, because if they actually fully understood and believed the fact that there's an eternity, that they would be very much more careful in what they do and what they say and how they behave. What will a man give in exchange for his soul? Because if we're ashamed of what Christ is saying, if we're ashamed of what Christ did, if we're ashamed of Christ's being, then why would he support us and not be ashamed of us in front of his Father? Whoever is ashamed of me and my words, whoever does not believe his words and follow his words, whoever is ashamed of me and my words in this generation, in this sinful world, then the Son of Man will be ashamed to acknowledge him in front of the Father, and when they come with the angels. So this is our decision. If we really believe who Christ is, the evidence is there. Peter said, you are the Christ. Peter believed, even though he didn't understand fully what Christ had to do and why he had come. He admitted eventually that he had seen the miracles. He finally accepted the fact that Christ was who he said he was, the Son of God, the Anointed One. But if we have to make the same decision, who do we say Christ is? And if we really believe that Christ is who he said he is, and if we look at the evidence then we have to understand that we have to give up our life, deny ourselves in this world in order to gain life in the next. And if we refuse to acknowledge Christ, if we refuse to accept His words in this world, then we may be denied acceptance in the next as well. And this is what He's saying. Whoever is ashamed of me and my words in this world, then the Son of Man may also be ashamed of that person in that when He comes in the glory of His Father with the holy angels. It's a very serious thing to consider, and it's a very serious decision each of us has to make. This is the end of chapter 8 in Mark, and we'll get on hopefully to chapter 9 next week. Thanks again for watching. Bye for now.